Yeah. It's gonna be broadcast. There it is. It's on anyway.
Also use the same remote, and maybe just didn't.
He says they don't have to be on for live stream. That's good. Could you all rise and remove your hats as we say the pledge? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our heads, please. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this beautiful day you've given us. We thank you for the privilege we've been given today to come here and decide city business. We ask that you be with us as we go about conducting this business, and we thank you for all the blessings you give us each and every day. It's through your son, Jesus, we pray. Amen. All right, we will need to make a motion for a presiding officer.
I'll make a motion that Kerry takes that position.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, first order of business is to approve the minutes from November 7th. Everybody has seen those. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Curly. All in favor?
Aye.
And we have been provided with the claims. Can I, if you've had a chance to look at them, I'll need a motion to approve the claims.
I'll make that motion for the claim.
Motion by Dustin,
I'll second.
second by Dan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Jason, you're up.
Morning, everybody. Any questions on the report? Not, I'm gonna move on because I've got quite a bit of other stuff to cover, but I don't want to show that the report if you have questions on that. So hearing no questions on the report, the next thing I need to cover is we had two change orders for the CCMG 2023-02, which was the 17th Street project as well as the 8th Street project. One of the change orders was for 17th and one was for 8th Street. The one for, just to give you a little history on them, what they were, when they arose, I went to talk with the mayor, and the mayor basically gave me the verbal word to go ahead and do those, because we were in a time when we had just had a meeting and we would have had to either call a special meeting or wait till the next meeting. So he said to go ahead and do those. So we did. So the work's all done. On the first one, the change order for 8th Street was for a total of $24,768.48. That one was for some remove and replace some extra curb, 68 feet of that. And then also when that project was designed, we didn't feel like we had to remove the whole road. We felt there was a portion of it that we could save. Well, as the project went along, we found out that the asphalt that was there was only about 2 inches thick, and felt like since we were spending that kind of money on the project, to go ahead and do it right, we could just go ahead and take out all the asphalt, put in a little extra stone, which you see there at 6 inches of compacted aggregate, 143 ton of that. So that totaled $4,878.48. And then with doing that, it also created some more HMA base, 91 ton of that, which was a total of $15,470. So that's where the total comes from on that one. And then on 17th Street, we ended up, we removed a little extra curb and gutter out there to make things line up better. 48 feet of that. So that was $1,920. And then while doing that, we also had some sidewalk removal that we had to do, which was 24 feet of that. That totaled $1,080. And then we had to remove and replace an ADA ramp with that also. And that was $990. So that one was a total of $3,990. Any questions on those two change orders? The pay apps you probably saw were submitted to close out that project. The pay apps that I submitted was for everything for that project other than these two change orders. So that's all we owe yet on those two, or on that project.
Yeah, I do them separately.
Okay, anybody have any questions? All right, I'm gonna do the change order on 17th Street first. The one for,
Which is number 2.
Number
That's
two.
change order number 2.
okay, change order number 2 for $3,990. I have a motion,
That's number 1.
that's number 1,
That's one, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Change order number 1 then.
I'll make a motion for a change order.
Motion to accept change order 1 by Dustin. Get a second.
I'll second.
Second by Dan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against, same sign. All right, second one. I'd like to table this till next meeting. I'd like to hear from the engineer and the contractor on this change order.
On number 2.
On number 2, yes.
Okay.
That's my thought. That's just my opinion. I don't know what these guys got any question about that. That's,
Yeah, I was curious about the redo work and stuff, so.
Well,
I would agree with Carol.
I know there was, that was the project where they had the sidewalk all poured, and they had to tear all the sidewalk out because
Yeah.
when we went up and looked at it, we didn't like it. It didn't pass ADA requirements. So the contractor was a sub for Knies.
Right.
So they came and looked at it. We walked it with them. Their boss agreed that he didn't like the workmanship of it. So they agreed to tear that all out and eat the cost of it. So there is no cost in this change order for any of the replacement of that sidewalk that was done up there. So just so you're clear on what took place there.
Wait, change order number 2 is on 17th Street, right?
no, it's on 8th Street.
Change order number 2 is A Street.
Oh,
That-
okay.
That
Okay.
was the $24,000.
But so there's no correction of defective work in this.
No, this was all additional work. So,
Nathan approved it.
yes,
Nathan.
Engineer,
Cash Wagner.
Cash Wagner, the engineer.
So you want me to have them here at the January meeting?
I would like that, yes.
I think I would agree with that too. I'd like to hear their explanation.
Were both of those projects bidded in one bid?
They were one contract, yes.
It was one okay, okay.
Yes. Okay, moving on then. I'm not sure when that was, a couple weeks ago. Tom and I and the mayor opened the annual bids for the city. With those annual bids, I'll just go through these or item by item. Item A is crushed stone, which is who would supply rock for the city, for all the departments in the city. The low bidder on that was Cape Quarries. My recommendation would be to accept Cape Quarries bids on those. Phil, do we need to do these?
I just take them
separately?
separately, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the bid from Cape Quarries for rock? Motion made by Dustin,
I'll second.
second by Curly. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay, item B is hot mix FOB, which means it's the asphalt that we go to the plant and pick up. And then we use that, whether it be in our hot box or whether it be in our truck. We use that to patch utility cuts, potholes, very small paving things that we can do ourselves. So that's what that item B is. A little explanation on that, you probably see there's three bidders, J.H. Rudolph, Cave Quarries, and E&B Paving. You see, my recommendation is gonna be that we accept J.H. Rudolph's because they are the low out of them and Cave Quarries. Now, you're gonna see on E&B Paving that they're lower than both of those. My issue that I have with E&B Paving, if we accept their bid on this, we have to go to Corden to get it. So.
Yeah.
That's at least a 3-hour round trip
Yeah.
with a truck to do that. And and by the time the asphalt gets back here, it's gonna be cooled off and it's not gonna be the quality that we need it to be. So, I mean, obviously, if that was a lot closer, yeah, I would recommend that. But my recommendation to you guys would be that we accept J.H. Rudolph's bid as the hot mix FOB item B.
I'll make a motion to accept J.H. Rudolph.
Motion by Curley. Can I get a second?
I'll second. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Second by Dan. All in favor, say aye. All against, same sign. Passed.
All
Okay,
right, item C is bituminous material and milling services. So what that is, that's basically the paving when we do annual bid paving in the city. They'll come in and they'll mill the street, they'll pave it and put it back. We had two bidders on that, J.H. Rudolph and Calcar Paving. My recommendation to the board would be Calcar Paving them that. You know, you can look at those numbers and they'll drive you crazy trying to go back and forth with them. Because one's lower than the other one. But what I do is I take projects that we did this year and I run the numbers off of those. I do this every year. I run these numbers off the projects we did this year, which the majority of our paving is either the binder or the surface. So you can see that Calcar is cheaper on those two items. So when you run those projects, Calcar comes out as the cheaper of the two. So my recommendation to the board would be that we accept Calcar Paving as the paving contractor for item C.
can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Dan to accept Calcar Paving,
I'll second.
second by Dustin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against?
Okay, moving on. Item D is fuel. That's providing the gasoline and the diesel for all the city vehicles. Whether it be at tanks at the departments or whether it's going to the station to fill up. Two bidders on that was Ackerman and Synergy. And Synergy was the low bidder at $97,911.90. So my recommendation to the board would be that we would accept Synergy's bid for item D.
I will make the motion to accept the bid from Synergy,
I'll second.
second by Curley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion moved.
Okay, moving on, the next one on the annual bid was for the refuge removal service. This one was a little more complicated, but I was on the phone and emails yesterday for half the day trying to get this one resolved. There was two bidders, Velpin Trucking and Waste Management / Advanced Disposal. When I got the number of dumpsters from Velpin that the city has right now, I took those containers that we have, related it to the prices that they both gave us. Velpin's price came in at $755. Advanced Disposals come in at $749. Now, Advanced, after talking to them, I made sure they weren't gonna have any fuel surcharges or any environmental fee charges or anything, because in the 12 years I've been here, we've always had Velpin. Okay, so I'm not saying Advance can't do this, but I wanted to make sure that they didn't have hidden fees that we know Velpen does not. Okay, so they emailed me back and they said they do not have fuel surcharges or environmental fees, but they do charge an overage charge, which is basically if the dumpster is running over.
Right.
They're very particular about that, because I switched to Velpen just because of that.
And he said they charge up to $75. And after talking with Velpen said the park department down there has a 6-yard can that they have that gets dumped twice a week in summer. And Velpen said it notoriously is running over because they have so much trash with Bombers games and things like that. So with that said, my recommendation to you guys would be that we would accept Velpen's bid on that.
Hey, what were the numbers you gave? 700 and what?
$755 for Velpen and $749 for Advance.
What? Why is that different from what we see?
Those sheets, well, for one, I took out the trash cans because we're not doing those anymore. We're doing those in-house.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that knocked that off. We don't have an 8-yard container. It shows on that sheet that we have one, but we do not. There's not one in the city. So
Okay.
I knocked that off. So that's how the numbers added up differently. Because Velpen's price for a 2-yard was $85 and Advances was $42. Velpen's for a 4-yard was $105. And Velpen or Advance was $124. Because and on these sheets, the difference is one of, and I'm gonna fix this sheet for next year. Tom and I have talked about this, but because the sheet's confusing. Advance, when they did their price, they took the number of containers times their price. And that's what the total they put over in that line. Velpen took the containers per container and put that in that line. As opposed to, like if there was 2, they didn't multiply it times 2, they just put the one price in there.
So those prices one more time, what was Velpen?
$755 and Advance $749. Advance on that dumpster that gets dumped twice for the park, they don't give you a break, or yeah, Advance. They don't give you a break on the second dump. They charge you basically full price for the 2 dumps. Velpen doesn't. They charge you full price for the first one and then like half price for the second.
I can tell you from experience, if you got something hanging above the dumpster an inch, they'll charge you an extra. They would charge me an extra $200.
Yeah.
That's why I switched to Velpen.
So
Was it okay to go with that, or we think
Yeah,
we need,
yeah, there's
or do we need the paperwork?
justifiable.
We think we need the paperwork, correct?
No,
You think it-
he's looked into it and explained it.
Okay. Need a motion?
I'm gonna make the motion to go with Velpen.
A motion by Dustin to accept Velpen. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Dan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against?
okay, next item is I have a letter that I'm going to have the mayor sign. And basically what I've been doing is I've been working on getting our road inventory up to date with NDOT. And when you get that, that's how we get our money from the state, is by our road inventory. I've got a list here of probably close to 20 streets in the city, which a lot of them are new ones that were out in Hunter's Crossing. But there's some of them in here that are older streets that were never, for whatever reason, put on the inventory. So I'm trying to get this done to get it up to date, obviously, so that we can get up to the full amount of money that we can from the state. So I'm basically just relaying this to you guys. I don't think there's anything you have to do. I just have to have the mayor sign the letter that says that these streets are accepted. But basically what it would do is it would take Right, in 2023 was the last time they did a mileage check on it. And Huntingburg had 41.309 miles. Road in the city. And with these additions of these roads that I'm talking about adding, that would go to 43.49 miles. So it's basically a little over 2 miles of addition. So. Any questions on that?
That can make a difference on grants, can it?
It can, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it also, like I said, it helps us with the money that we get back from the state for different things, so. Like I said, I don't, there's nothing they need to do with that, is there? Phil?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. Um. Guess the last thing I've got then is leaf pickup, will end next week. We will be doing leaf pickup all week next week, and then we will be putting the leaf machines for the rest of the year, so. Any questions on anything?
Thank you, Jason. Brad?
Morning.
Hey.
Questions on the report?
Questions?
The value engineer items decrease. I think we need to get that approved. Aaron can come up if you have any questions for that. Commonwealth. The decrease of $149,587.90. If you look at the packet on the back, there's 3 different items that were taken out.
This is Reynolds' contract.
Yes.
Order number 2.
So this won't affect the quality of the project, these
No.
deletions?
Nope. One of the walkways in between for the 65,000. One, there will be I think it's a 4-foot, Aaron.
Yeah, so it's a 3-tank system, so there's 2 common walls that are on each side of that middle tank, and those are the 2 walkways that have been eliminated. There's no equipment that's along that walkway whatsoever. So it's really no need to service any equipment or anything in between those or on those common walls there. So what this deduct is to delete the majority of that walkway on that common wall in that middle tank. And then there's a little stub out there on let's say the east side of the tank. There's a pump that's right there at the corner of those tanks that Brad and this guys can get access to the pool. So basically that deletion of that was just to try to get some money back in the project. There's really no purpose in that walkway. It'd really just be non-useful, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a large platform. The top of the wall is relatively thick. So there could be in the future, if you wanted to, you could eventually put like some official tie-off points if you wanted to, and actually walk on that if you needed.
I think it's 2 foot. The top of the wall is 2 foot, so if we could put something across there.
And there's cannons on the south side of the tank that's got non-pot connections from like a fire hydrant standpoint. So if you ever drop the tank, the drain is there on the north side, which there's a walkway on the south side of the north side. So in theory, you can still wash any tanks down if he needs to in the future to still clean any tanks there as well.
Well, what about the waterproofing?
Yeah, so the tank, the tank has got an admixture called Zypex in the concrete, which is basically a waterproofer. It basically helps swell up the concrete. You get a bunch of micro cracks in concrete as it cures and over time, right? And Zypex basically helps to minimize that and swell inside of it. So the exterior wall all has that Zypex admixture in there, right? So then the interior walls, if we get some bleed by or some sweating between tank to tank, it'll be so minimal, it doesn't matter if he ever has to take just say he has to take the middle tank down. That Zypex in there is really not gonna do anything. It's really just a safeguard for some minor leaks in the future. So we felt that, and we talked with the structural engineer as well, and they were okay with eliminating that Zypex there on those, in those two common wall middle, that middle tank wall. And then the dry pack. So, we've got Zypex in there, right, which is that waterproofer. We also have water stop in between each joint, and they use like an RX water stop, which is like a hydrophobic, material that goes in between each joint. So if I pour a joint like this, pour a joint on top, in between those two joints, there's this hydrophobic material in there. So any water that gets in there, it swells to stop any water that bleeds through that tank. And we had the Zypex, like I mentioned. So then on the outside of or the inside of the tank, sorry, there's another grout Zypex dry pack, which is the same thing as the admixture that's going inside the tank material or in the tank concrete itself. And that again just acts as another barrier around those joints there. So the exterior is not really needed. You're not gonna have, groundwater is not high enough there that he's gonna have to worry about groundwater getting into the tank. And even if there is groundwater present, we've got Zypex RX, and then we also have the inside packing of it as well. So there's multiple safeguards there from a leak protection standpoint of the tank. And we've done this similarly. We just did it in Paoli as well. We eliminated the exterior dry pack and we eliminated the Zypex in the interior wall between two tanks as well.
Any questions? Other questions?
Can I get a motion to accept the change order?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dustin. Second,
I'll second.
second by Dan, all in favor? Yeah, all against?
Thank you, board. Cool. Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Chief Kramer.
Morning.
Sir.
Any questions on the report? Any questions from anybody? Two things real quick. Just an update on Officer Ward. He has graduated from the academy at Evansville. He's back with us full time now and covering shifts. He's doing a good job. And then as far as the newest officer, Officer May, he has completed everything he has to become Indiana certified. So we're just waiting on that certificate from the Plainfield Academy, because that's where it comes from, so. And then the other thing I've got is the salary ordinance. Bill, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, the chief wants to, well, in our organization of the police department, one of the positions that is provided for is a detective sergeant. And for administrative reasons that the chief can explain, he would like to let that position go empty for now, but he does need a supervisory sergeant. So we don't have a position as just sergeant. So he's recommending that this board approve creating the position of sergeant. And by doing that, we also need to create in the salary ordinance a pay scale for that, which would be the same pay scale, same range as what's currently in there for the detective sergeant. Now, again, the detective sergeant would go vacant for now. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
So we've got two ordinances there that the board should consider recommending approval to the council. One would be to create that additional position of sergeant. And the other would be to salary ordinance amendment to create a salary range for that position.
So we're creating a new position.
We're creating a new title. Yes. So and part of the reason for doing this is so the sergeant's rank was with the detective's position. And in the past, we've found that the detectives are with their caseload, they are so busy that they have no business being involved in any kind of supervisory status, just because they're focused solely on their cases and doing that stuff. And as far as we've had some situations in the past where officers will question whether or not they need to work a case or the detective will. And in doing this, it'll allow us to have both detectives answer to Rusty, the assistant chief. And then he'll make the determination on who works what case and not the detectives, because it's caused some rift between the officers and the detectives. So
Okay, so is our detective sergeant going to move to sergeant? Is that the plan?
we do not have an active detective sergeant right now. We have
Okay,
we never filled that position yet.
and we don't have the sergeant position yet either then, correct? So you'll have two openings there.
No, just one. So we're gonna replace the detective sergeant with the sergeant's position, and then we'll still have a detective's position. Separated from
From the sergeant.
so we've had two detectives before, one was a detective sergeant, one was just a regular detective.
Okay,
We'll
all
have two regular detectives and then a sergeant,
right, so,
which will supervise a rotation
so
as well.
we have a detective now?
We have one, yeah, and his caseload is going up.
Okay, so we're gonna have a sergeant and we're gonna add a position. And would it be safe to assume we're probably gonna lose somebody from a road officer in the long run?
And lose somebody as in,
As is, you will promote somebody from probably
yeah,
down the line off the road, you know. I say that because they'll move probably to strictly the daytime.
Yeah.
And how's that gonna hurt our nights and weekends?
so as of right now. So DJ, once Officer May gets done with his training,
Okay,
he will fill into that spot.
Okay.
So it won't,
are you full right now, fully
Yeah.
staffed? You are?
Yeah.
Okay,
as soon as DJ gets done and gets on his own, we will be fully staffed, everybody on the road. Everything will be covered.
so after we make this move, say the first year, we're fully staffed and we won't need to hire anyone.
No.
Okay.
We don't need to hire anybody right now.
Okay.
Everybody's doing a great job.
I guess my other question is, why do we need to do anything with this at all right now? Because I know this has already went through one meeting at the city council.
Well, the Board of Public Works and Safety is in charge of overseeing the police department, and so. Before they take final action on it, the council takes final action, they would like your recommendation. They'd like for you all to look at it.
Do we need to have two motions?
I think you can cover one motion,
Okay,
recommendation to create the position of sergeant and to establish the salary range for him.
Motion.
I'm gonna make the motion for that.
Motion made by Dustin, second.
I'll second.
Second by Curly, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Passed.
And just a little FYI, this isn't removing the detective sergeant's position from the ordinance. It's merely adding the sergeant's position just in case in the future, if the future chief wants to change what he sees fit, that option is still there.
Yeah.
So. No questions? Everything good?
Thanks.
All right. thank
Thanks,
you.
Chief. Chief Heim? The SCBA's, can you explain that to me? What's happening?
So last meeting, I asked for permission to go to the redevelopment committee to the mayor. We were gonna use TIF funds.
Right.
And that was approved to use those funds. I will be ordering here yet this week so we can get this year's pricing. But it will not come out of my budget.
Coming from TIF funds, right?
Correct.
Okay. Does that have to go through city council, Phil?
I think they've proven it, have they not? I don't recall. It doesn't really, no.
It doesn't really?
No,
Okay.
actually, it's redevelopment funds that are being used, TIF monies, redevelopment commission.
Okay. Any other questions for Don?
Um, uh, Firefighter Bear is, she's finished all of her hazmat, so she's 2 more weeks and she'll be firefighter certified. And then today, at the end of the meeting, I have, 2 of the 3 firefighters that need to be sworn in. So we'll do that after the meeting, if that's all right. And then, the 3rd firefighter, he got a new job this week, so he's already certified, and he came in right before Thanksgiving, and Tom and I.
So that put you up full or
We will be full.
awesome? It's
Yep.
great to hear.
No further questions?
Nope.
No.
Thanks, chief. Mr. Lake.
Any questions on the reports? Permit wise, you're gonna end up finishing 2024 almost where you were with 2025 in terms of total dollar values. I'll have that report for you in January at your board meeting then, just to compare 2024 to 2023, so you can actually see how that split out. Code enforcement report looks a little bit different this month, because you'll see at the top of the action counts, 109 action counts for what is the water department. Water department has to send out unknown service line notifications, and it's state and federal law regarding how they have to report it. So that's what we, in talking to Jerry Austin, determined that the GoGov software allowed them to do it and essentially set up the case files so that they had the original letter, photos, if any, and everything, so that they have an auditable trail should the state or federal government need to see anything, showing that all the notifications, it's all in one file. So that's why the number looks quite a bit higher. What's it? No grass violations this week. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Safety Director Andrea Brown.
Morning. Anyone have any questions on the report? And we did fill our administrative assistant position that we had open with Shelley Leather. She started November 12th, so she's been a good addition so far, so we're excited to have her.
Awesome. Questions for Andrea?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
All right. Anything from Attorney Schneider?
Nope, I have nothing.
Mr. Dipple?
I had nothing.
Anything from the board? Anything from the gallery? Janet? State your name, please.
Janet Schnell.
Okay.
I was at the city council meeting to better understand how policies and procedures are developed and followed through with. Avid walker, so I walk our city streets and see a lot of problems that are happening. Live right beside someone who has a problem with hoarding and trying to figure out, in 15 years that we've had this problem, nothing has progressed. And so trying to figure out, and I have pictures to show you the timeline. And this in the state ordinances to address it. As to what are we doing, how are we nobody wants to move into a house that's crowded, full of tarps with things underneath it. Seeing sheds falling down. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can, as a citizen, help our community. If it's reporting it, if it is following up, I want to know better what I can do to help resolve this problem for our city. And so I don't expect Donnie, I don't expect him to be able to have his eyes out everywhere. But as I'm walking along, I can see these things. So needing advice from you all and really following up on do we have a hoarding law? Why not? Why are we not following through with what our state recommendations are? And how is it being addressed?
We don't have a specific ordinance that addresses hoarding, and primarily because it's very difficult. What what some people consider as junk or trash, other people consider as treasure. And we've got to be conscientious of people's right to own property without being unduly restrictive. We do have ordinances that prohibit the accumulation of trash and rubbish and other materials and items that cause or tend to cause a health and safety problem. That prevent access to emergency personnel or that cause other health and safety problems. And those are primarily the ordinances we use to fight these hoarding issues. Now, they're probably not always effective, but that's what we have at this point. I'm not familiar with anything the state recommends.
Yeah, I have it here.
Okay, well, good. We'll take a look at it.
Sorry.
Yeah, is that
And then I have the link for the states
Okay.
on there also, so you can look it up directly. So like not being able to get to a door for emergency treatment or to get around to the house for emergency treatment would not qualify, or a fire hazard?
certainly it does. It does.
Okay. You know, we've had pets, or not pets, we've had animals who go onto the porch, then come off and they're dying on our property. So we had a little cat. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to figure out what to do because it's a 15-year problem. And I'm just trying to figure out what to do, what we can do. And I don't, personally, I was hoping that you all could fix this because when it comes neighbor to neighbor, there's that animosity then that happens. And then it doesn't make for a good neighborhood feel, and it's really not my job. But I want to know how to help resolve this as a problem.
Well, we'll take a look at what we can do.
Yeah.
What we can do to strengthen our property maintenance codes. And I'll work with Paul, the code enforcement officer, and Don to try to come up with some language that would address some of these issues.
When you look at the house, the fuel load by itself is a hazard, and I've tried to address this I've had these people in an office. They've been cited for things that I can, like whatever falls under our ordinances, but when we have little teeth in this right now, and I'm kind of stuck. It's not that I haven't attempted.
Oh, I know you.
Yeah.
And I don't expect, like I said, I don't expect you to have your eyes because it looks like I see it all the time. But I have pictures if you wanted to see where it started out from 2003, how it did look all the way to the progression to what it is today. So the first picture you'll see will be the very beginning, when it was first addition was just added, and then you can see the progression, and then to this date now, we have a privacy fence. And we have 6 inches on our privacy fence, so that whole fence is ours. We have their stuff leaning against that fence. I don't know, like even with their vehicles. I know that there's been tagged before because their vehicles are full inside where they physically cannot drive it. And it's parked on city streets. So I don't know. I don't know what the laws are. I don't know what can be done. I don't want to be a target for that, but hoarding is a mental health disorder. If we ignore it, it doesn't get better. It only gets worse. And so the way that it can be addressed is when we, like Donnie's saying, that it's tough when you're brought in, you tell you today, this is what the problem is. They're forced to address what the real deep underlying problem is.
Any other questions? Janet, I thank you very much for coming in and expressing your opinion. I like that. It'll be looked into and we'll see as to what we may or may not be able to do. Okay?
And I'll follow up.
Okay, absolutely. Please
And
do.
the recommendation also is that Donnie, you're gonna be getting some pictures. You also have permission, let me know when you would like to come onto our property to be able to take a look from our side.
Right.
But I'll be following up anytime I see any kind of pictures. It was very disturbing to see that little cat die. and it was the mother had abandoned him. And so then we're left then, what do we do with? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Curly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. She did do a very good job. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. Yes, absolutely.
I know, right, that's that. And it's been like that. You know, I spent, you know,
Pretty proud.
No.